Hello again, friends. It is Danica with your daily dose with Danica. I wanted to just follow up a little bit with what I had talked about yesterday about my story. Actually, I wanted to finish up telling the story. I started, I've got all these thoughts in my life. I just try to get them succinct enough to share the overriding message of there is always always a chance for another chance. Um, so I shared with you that for about 6 years, I didn't see my boys really, maybe four times in that 6 year span. So from the time they were 6 and 4 to 12 and 10, I saw them just a few times throughout those pivotal years of their lives. But I made the decision. I made a choice. When my older son was getting ready to go into high school, I realized he was going to start dating. It was either going to be based on, he was going to choose his mate, girlfriend, eventual wife on the memory of his mom if he had one, which was not okay, or to fill a void of not having a mom, which is 100% not okay also. So I made the choice to go back to be in their lives, not up in their lives, but to be as much as involved as I could be, but to be the example of the kind of woman that I would like for them to marry when they're 100. Um, so I didn't have it mapped out. I didn't know how it was going to go, but that was my goal. I wanted to be sure that I could share with them all the knowledge and all the wisdom and all of the life that I had experienced, but also that I had unlearned to be able to help them become their young men and then adults who could make informed decisions, who could see things from every perspective so that they could just be able to show up authentically and have their voices be their guiding. Like, I know I'm not saying this right, with the wisdom that was imparted into them, but be able to make decisions based on what their authentic selves really are. And again, I had no idea how I was going to do this. I just went and I told them everything. I shared with them everything that I had been through that was age appropriate and made sure that they understood that whatever happened was not their fault. It was all me. My why. I told them my why, my what, my how, my who, all of that. I just treated my sons as if they were, get this, individuals with brains that could comprehend, with feelings that could process, that were just human beings and not just whatever sometimes we think kids are. Sometimes we expect them to know what we know as adults when really they only know at kid level. They don't have the experience that we do. And that's why I just went back and I shared with them everything. I told them everything so that they could have understanding. Because when there's understanding. When there's not understanding of something, there's an abuse of a thing. And I wanted to make my role as a parent exactly that. I knew that my input into their lives was either going to turn them into who I was or who I knew them to be. So I just gave them space to be who they are, to say what they were feeling, to express their hurts and their fears and their disappointments and their angers. And then we also took the time to see things from another perspective, from the perspective of the other person and how that person's experience met with their experience and how they could take the time to see things from through someone else's eyes, so to speak. And and this is why I'm so passionate and on fire for parents to learn how to communicate with their kids, because when my older son was 16, he sat across from me in my apartment and I said, dude, you know, your peers are all doing these things that teenage boys are supposed to be doing, but you aren't even really interested in dating right now. What is it? His mom, I don't have a void to fill. Because you have helped me learn who I am to walk comfortably and confidently in my own identity so that I don't need those extra things in my life to fill a void. And the only thing I did was allow him the space to be who he is, with both of my kids. And so I guess my overriding message today is, let's, now that we have time with parents, as parents, to spend time with our kids, let's, yes, we need to do the homeschooling and all of that, but let's teach our kids that we're not perfect. We don't have everything figured out. We don't have to be perfect. We just need to be present. We don't always have to be thinking about what's next, but what's right now. We know we will get through this, but this time is such a pivotal time to be able to spend with your families, with your spouse, to be able to reconnect as a whole, because life is about communication. Let me rephrase that. Life is about relationships, and relationships are either made or destroyed by communication. And life does start at home. So let's all just take this time to put away or try to unlearn. We can't necessarily just put away the things that we have been taught through our experiences coming up and then being parents, because our parents only taught us what they knew. But this is a time for us to unlearn that, do the things with our families that only we need to know about. Nobody else needs to know what we do with our families, because our families are our responsibilities. They're not anyone else's responsibility. And if you take time to just get to know your kids for who they are, not what they do, then your legacy will live on through eternity. And I can promise you that that is a fact, because my goal, like I said at the beginning of this, was for my kids to know how to be respected by the person that they would be married, how they would be supposed to have communication, and just not to settle for someone to just fill that void. So one day when my son was older, he said, so he called me. He goes, Mom, I just wanted to let you know something. I was sitting down making a list of the qualities that I would like to have in my wife. And I'm like, pump the brakes. I'm not ready for that word. We agreed 100. You're not there yet. And he's like, oh, fine, whatever, just listen. So he was listing all of these qualities. And I was going to bring tissues with me because I didn't want to have to wipe my nose on my sleeves today. But I'm going to. And he said, Mom, I got down to the end of the list and I said to myself, that's mommy. Who doesn't want that? Who doesn't want to say that you've been that example for your kid, that they want to do, that you've been that person for them, that they want to be like you, not run from you, not ever want to not be like you. And that's something that I love about the Ziglar legacy. Zig Ziglar spent his entire life walking his talk, and his kids learned from his example how to be that person. And so they wanted to carry on his legacy. They wanted to be in the same, on the same path that their dad did, just because they respect his integrity, they respect his message, they respected how he treated them. And that's really what it is with parenting. We just need to just be willing to unlearn what we think it should be, and be willing to spend time with our kids. Be present, not perfect. Talk to them. Get to know their language. Get to know what makes them laugh, what upsets them, and encourage them to have that voice. And also share with them a whole other perspective, and share your life stories with them. We've all made mistakes, and they're going to make mistakes as well. And when they realize we weren't perfect, then that gives them the space to not have to feel that kind of pressure. And I'll add one more thing. When my older son was going through a major life event, a few months after I moved back to Raleigh, I wrote a letter to someone in his defense. But I always, anytime I speak for him, I always let him read what I'm writing because it's his life and I want to represent him. And if he didn't like what I was saying, I didn't want to have to go back and, explain to him what I said and what I blah, blah, blah. So I wrote this email to a specific person. And mind you, this was 10 years ago. Um, let him see it. He was fine with it. I sent it. Last night, my son emailed me a copy of the email that I had sent to that person. And he said at the top, he goes, I didn't realize then how much you went to bat for me, but you've impacted me more just by doing these things for me than I ever realized. I love you, Mom. So those teenagers that we think are the hopeless generation, they're not. They're desperate for just their parents to see them. So let that be the daily dose of encouragement and help today. Sorry if I was all over the map with it. I just appreciate your time and your patience here with me today, and I am here for you if you need anything. Excuse the sniffing. But yeah, let's encourage our next generation to be their own authentic voices, to be able to speak their truth with love and respect to everyone. Because then when we speak our truth, we don't have to remember what we said. You know what I mean? We can just enjoy life to the full because we're just being who we are, who God created us to be, walking in our purposes and walking with our team around us. And by our team, I mean our families. What greater accomplishment is there in life? All right. Thanks for your time. Love you. And I'll be back tomorrow with another daily dose. I appreciate you more than I can ever put words behind. Peace.